The 5 Sensotronic systems from Hoover. They give you a choice of a power-driven head for deep down cleaning, adjustable suction power, the unique Hoover remote control, and all with tools stored inside the machine. Our quietest, most powerful cleaners ever. The Sensotronic systems from Hoover. Who better?
Hello everyone. Well, I think I know what's in this box, and if I've got it wrong, I've certainly chosen the wrong sock colour as well as the wrong colour top. But anyway, I think this will be a red coloured vacuum. I've had to wait quite a while for it while the seller found a suitable box and packaging. But I'm not expecting any other vacuum cleaners to turn up at the moment. So although it looks like it could be an upright cleaner, obviously we know from the title, if it's the machine I think it is a cylinder or canister cleaner, or as Hoover called them back in the day, suction cleaners. They certainly called this a suction cleaner in the brochure. Let me just check it is what I'm expecting. Yes it is. I'm expecting a red Hoover Sensotronic System 1. And that's what's in here. Lots of useful packaging I can reuse because I will be getting rid of quite a few vacuums over the next few weeks and months because I've got far too many. So this is a Hoover Sensotronic System 1, which was the bottom of the range. Now this is from the first generation of Sensotronics. I'll say first, but first Mark II. Because the very first generation that came out back in about 82/83 would have had cream colour tools. This one, most of them they changed from cream to black. I think Hoover called it black tulip shadow. Not sure if it picks up on camera, but this isn't the black tulip shadow. For some reason System 1 had a blue colour. So it might look quite black, it does look quite black on my viewfinder, but in real life it is quite a dark blue colour. So that's the contour head, and it's got the extended, what do you call that piece, folks? Anyway, the regular contour nozzles would have finished about there with the little pip lower down. But on earlier models that used shorter plastic wands, they extended the contour nozzle. It's not in bad condition, needs a little bit of cleaning. There's a bit of paint on there which should come off. A couple of wands, let's see if they're broken. The wands tended to survive, but it's the lock ring fittings on these that tended to break. You can still buy the lock ring fitting on its own, but I doubt I'll be able to get it in this blue. I've seen it in black. Well, there is some slight breakage just there. It will still function as it should. So they're the correct ones because they again are a blue colour rather than the black. This is a very heavy double stretch hose, much heavier than the later hoses. For example, the double stretch hoses you got with tool kits, say on the turbo powers. This is certainly heavier and a bit more robust. Just a regular hand grip there, and you've got the little suction ring which doesn't move. That wasn't mentioned. I think that's been glued because I can't move that. I'm not going to force it at the moment. And again, that's broken. At the end, things that weren't pointed out in the listing, but you've got to expect that when buying on eBay, that people don't point out every single thing. I try to when I sell on eBay. Even the smallest fault, I try and point it out because then people can't complain later and say you didn't say. Right, we'll take the cleaner out. Being a Sensotronic, obviously it weighs a ton. There we go, so it's nicely packed anyway. Okay, so let's reveal this. So as I said, this was the bottom of the range. the entry-level Sensotronic, and it differed as well from the other 4 in that range, whereas this has a 900 watt motor. The other cleaners from system 2 to 5 had a 1000 watt motor. So we're nearly there. Get all this bubble wrap off. As I said, I had to wait a while for the seller to send this, but I'm glad the seller did say to me, can you wait while I find some more packaging? I don't want it to get broken. Something like this though, pretty robust. They're like tanks. I would have been quite surprised, even with worse packaging, that it would have been broken. This is a lovely 80s vacuum. Very basic, really, but for an 80s vacuum, it's got a different sort of shape, so that we were moving away from the traditional cylindrical shaped canister or suction cleaners that we knew from when they were first created. They were just basically a metal tube, weren't they, with a hose and metal wands and a metal floor head. That's how the first cylinder cleaner looked, and then as things progressed they looked more modern. But on the whole, like the Hoover Freedom, you might have seen me unbox that during my Advent series in 2018, they were all pretty much the same. You know, the Electrolux cleaners, the Hoover cleaners, the Goblins, they all seem to be that sort of cylindrical shape, very square. So it was sort of this sort of time, or sort of late 70s, where manufacturers started introducing different shapes. And this, although it's heavy and it's large compared certainly to the cleaners you buy now, I do love the Sensotronics. I've always liked them. I've had many in my day, probably most of them. But here's the side of the cleaner. Very big bumpers either side. You can just about see there, Hoover embossed. On the back we've got the exhaust vent, which I think has possibly had a replacement. There's a black, you won't be able to see it, but through here there's a black diffuser, and I can see that it's a bit too small. So at some stage that's probably been replaced, because the type of coarse, foamy, spongy filter that was fitted to these perished. I got myself, and you haven't seen it yet, and although I've had it several years, I've not even shown you it yet. I bought a new in the box Sensotronic. It was not called Sensotronic, it was just called Electronic, but it's a Sensotronic shape, but very dumbed down and cheapened. But the complete filter at the back was perished, and it caused a bit of damage. Actually, it actually marked some areas of the cleaner. I'll show you that at some point. Anyway, I think that's been repaired or replaced, but it's not big enough. I've got plenty of that stuff I bought recently, so I might take it apart. I've had Sensotronics apart many times back in the day, and they're quite easy to take apart. Everything comes apart simply. So here's the basic cleaner. There's the back. This is where the cable comes out. I've been warned that the cable rewind is sluggish, but they were. That probably could do with a bit of greasing. Well, yes, not only, it shouldn't make that noise. Hopefully a bit of grease on that should stop the noise and make it run a little bit smoother. On the front we've just got your hose inlet. There's a little release here which opens, which moves. Oh, it's actually got the power socket. Can you see there? Look, that just unlocks the hose. It clicks into place. To remove it, you unlock it. This does have the power socket for the optional, at this time, electrokinetic power head. It would have been later models that would have been blanked out, unless of course it was a remote or total system version. So the likes of system, after the systems 1 to 5 came systems 10 to 20, and then with a completely new redesign came systems 100 to 500. But I'm sure system 10, when that came out, which was a replacement for this, and the first system 10 was a sort of a much more subdued beige colour, I'm sure that would have been blanked out. I could get an optional turbo 300 head, not turbo 300, electrokinetic, if I could find one, but it's the one with the long cable, because the cable would have clipped to the hose instead of being integrated within the hose as in the Total systems. So here's the control panel of the machine, being the base model. It's very basic. We've just got a single pedal. Later models, they redesigned it to have 2 pedals, but the first generation, 1 single pedal. You've got your automatic cord rewind and on off, and 1 sensor light here, which basically is a bag check indicator or an airflow indicator. That would illuminate when the bag's full, or it would also illuminate if you had a blockage in the hose or a nozzle. So basically that would fluctuate as well. If you blocked off the end as you were cleaning, it would turn on and off. So this is the basic control panel here. System 2, upgraded with a 1000-watt motor, had an economy switch and also variable electronic speed control. Then we had system 3, which had remote control, so it would have just had 3 lights, a red, an amber and a green light on the control panel, and then controls on the handle. Then Total System 4, which was basically System 2 but with the power head, and then the top of the line, which was my very first brand new vacuum cleaner, Hoover Sensotronic Total System 5, which had the benefits of the remote control and the electrokinetic head. But I'm still happy to have this, even though it's the most basic. I love the colour. I just love this stripe here, the red and white stripe. It just screams to me 1980s. So let's have a look inside the cleaner now. So we've got the top cover here, which comes off. It's been wiped down, this, as you can see, wiped down with a damp cloth or something, but not dried. So I can get this. I mean, it's in pretty good shape, but a little bit more care, that will be even better than that. Well, let's see if there's a date wheel on the top here. I don't think there is. There normally will be one on the tool caddy. So I don't know why that's there. It's all correct colour. The tool caddy is in the same very dark blue. It's not been replaced. As I said, the very early ones, the tool caddy, whoops, the tool caddy would have been cream. Oh, that's why that's happened. There is one thing broken on the tool caddy I'm not bothered about. It doesn't really affect the use of the machine. There is a tiny little bit out of there. That was pointed out in the listing. That could do with a wash. It's got a date wheel on and it's pointing to June 82 for this part. Later models did incorporate an air freshener, which would have been a little, somewhere underneath here they put a little holder for the Hoover round air freshener to fit in. That was on the 2nd generation, the Sensotronics that had the 2 pedals. So there's your tool caddy. It won't work without the tool caddy in place because the tool caddy seals in the suction. So even if you took the tool caddy out and put that on, it closes, but you lose a load of suction. So it's got to have the tool caddy in place. One advantage though, you could actually access the tools with the machine running. Some machines, like the later compacts that had the tools inside, you had to switch them off and then open the bag door. But with this one you can do it when it's running. That looks original. That's how I remember the early bag slide to look like, in a blue colour. Got a few, well, one genuine bag. Did expected more than one from the listing, but I'm not sure. I've got loads anyway. They still sell bags for this, but not. This is the genuine old colour that it would have been originally, but I'm sure I've got some of those. You can see a picture at the top there of the restyled Sensotronic. So to use these bags, and they were 7 litre capacity, so quite large, and twin skinned. So we have the outer paper and then a finer paper. Don't know if we can separate it. Yes. So it offers 2 layers of filtration on the bag, plus of course there's the pre-motor filter, but no exhaust filter, just an exhaust diffuser. Even the 2nd generation Sensotronics didn't improve the filtration. It was only when the boxier styles that came out in the late 80s, 89 I think, the filtration was improved with an exhaust filter, but not on all models. I don't think any of mine had the exhaust filter as standard. The European versions did, but you could buy one to fit. So that's what you do with the bag. It's not spotless, but I'll have that cleaned up properly. Here, look, we've got the grill. I can wash this, but that's quite dirty. I've probably got some more of those. And of course, the motor situated behind here. So, as I said, I've had these apart. They're quite simple. The top cover here comes off, 2 screws, and you just push it slightly back, remove it, and then disconnect the connectors to the motor. And then the whole body comes apart. It's a twin skinned machine. They made a big deal of that to make it quieter. So inside the outer red skin, there's this dark blue layer as well. So you can't really officially close it without the bag in place, because that will stop it. So the bag goes on to the front like that. Then the tool caddy fits back. So here are the tools. Crevice tool, sort of a medium length crevice tool there. That looks in very good condition once it's cleaned. That's your all-purpose nozzle. And then that needs a little bit of cleaning. That's your dusting brush, and yes, it does swivel. And that fits in there. So that's the one with the broken part, but it's not going to fall out, obviously, because I'm going to pop the cover on. On the underside of the cleaner, we've got the swivel caster at the front, and you can see here, these are the screw holes to remove the lower casing. The wheels come off as well. You remove these 2 screws, and there are 2 further screws under the wheels that you have to remove. So there'll be 2, 4, 6, 8 screws, 10 including the screws for the wheels, you have to remove, and then basically it's completely separated out. Obviously once you take the control panel off, so it's all very easy to access, unlike a lot of cleaners today. Let's have a look at this rating plate. This is made in France, of course. Yes, so made in France in the Dijon factory, of course now closed down. That closed down before the factory in Cambuslang, Scotland. So here we are, it's Hoover model S3126, 50 Hz, 900 watts or 1070 watts with the power head. So obviously the power head was 170 watts. And it's serial 30207314, made in France, trademarks of Hoover Limited. Okay, let's plug her in into the wall socket. Might turn on when I switch it on, because I've been fiddling, haven't I? Right, I'm going to risk it. I'm going to risk turning it on. I don't think it's going to blow. Now, that sounds very sweet. That does sound very, not like the Sensotronic, which I haven't looked at yet at the time of making the video, like my Sensotronic System 30, if you remember. That doesn't sound very well. I do have a spare motor for that. I'll get that working one day. This one sounds fantastic though, doesn't it? Absolutely. Has it as it should sound. So let's plug in the hose. You've got to make sure it's lined up correctly. Oh, I love Sensotronics. I love Sensotronics. I just wish I hadn't got rid of all of the, I had them all nearly. Oh well. Slowly but surely I'm getting some of them back. I'm not sure if I ever had this one. Because I always thought, there's no point in buying System 1, because I don't know how much more it would have been, but System 2 wouldn't have cost a lot more, and I did like the electronic control. I remember a friend's mother had this model, and that was at the time when I managed to get a total system 5, so I sort of looked down on him very cruelly. He wasn't bothered about vacuums, of course. You could see, I'll do a close-up, you could see as I was blocking off the end, not the greatest suction, but you know, I wasn't expecting it to be massive. Cleaner filter might improve the suction a tiny bit. And you can see as I was blocking off the end, the red light was illuminating. I've remembered my suction gauge this time that Monica Lewinsky gave me last Christmas 2018. So we'll see what it's like. I'm not expecting it to be fantastic suction for such an old lady, but I'm going to see what the suction gauge registers at the cleaner end and also at the hose end. Now it was registering on 40 inches of water, but there was a lot of suction loss because it's not quite, can't get quite a seal here. So we'll see what it's going to measure at the end of the hose. Might get slightly higher or more or less the same, but you might have heard all the suction, all the air entering the cleaner basically through this little bit here. So I couldn't form a proper seal because it wasn't allowing me. I could suppose put some tape over that so we get a more accurate result, but this is not really scientific, it's just for fun, just to see how much suction one of these old cleaners has. Well, that was around 56 to 58 inches of water, and again that would have been slightly high. I think that would have gone to well over 60, but there is suction loss because this part's broken. Hello folks, I'm just about catching it. Look, it was all smiles until I started using this. It's taken up smoking. I don't know if you can quite see it. I think I caught it on the video. Ah, it stinks. I don't know if it's the suppressor that's gone. I'm going to open this up and have a look in the video. What a shame, because it's in such good condition. I'll be certainly putting a complaint in. It was only on for 2 minutes, if that. It's still smoking. It is still smoking. Can you see it? I think I caught the footage. It tripped my electric at first, and then the second time I put it on, a little bit of a bang and a load of smoke. Oh dear. Well, I don't know how much of that you saw, whether I caught the original explosion, but I certainly took a lot of footage of this Hoover Sensotronic System 1 smoking. So, oh dear. You see what happened when I was recording the first time, it tripped the electrics. The downstairs sockets went out, everything went out, including the plugged in lights. So I plugged it in again, and then almost immediately we had the little explosion, and it stinks in here of burning, some burning electrical smell. It could be our old friend the suppressor, the bane of vacuum cleaner collectors everywhere. Little ticking time bomb. Okay, well, we can get a chance now to have a look inside here and see if we can see what has caused the damage. Okay then, I've undone the 2 screws, obviously. It's unplugged. Let's have a look. Oh. Right. I don't really want to touch it yet. I think that is a suppressor. It does seem intact. Shouldn't be too difficult to bypass it. Ew, it smells, folks. This is perished. They always do. I have to find something. Well, it will. I'll be able to put my finger through that. Right, well, I can take off the control panel quite easily. It's very warm, but that's the motor, I suppose. There we are. So the whole control panel, we can put that to one side. Delve in a little bit closer. I think it is the suppressor, you know. And it's a big one. It's a big metal suppressor. So if we I can see it's not exploded in a dramatic fashion like some of them do. I'll have to be careful though, because I don't know if it stores any electricity, so I'm gonna I think with this one I might need to get myself a soldering iron or even just a terminal block actually might do it. I'll ask advice before I go ahead. Hopefully you'll be able to see. I think this is what's happened. Look, you see there's some black stuff there coming out. I can't see any other reason. Normally the culprit, when you have an explosion and you get smoke and you get a terrible smell, the culprit is normally this thing. And a suppressor was fitted to domestic appliances, vacuums, anything with a motor really, to stop it interfering with your TV and radio signals when the machine was operating. In the old days, if they didn't have a suppressor fitted, your mother or grandmother, whoever, could be vacuuming near the television and all the picture would go funny. So these were put in to suppress the interference, the mains interference. But obviously, now if I can get another one, I would prefer to get one. I'm going to look up if I can get one, you never know. But if it'll probably be new old stock, and if that's not been stored very well, that could still go bang. Most people do remove the suppressors. It's just how to do it in the safest way. So I wonder if you can get a little terminal block that will accept these, and I've forgotten what they're called, this type of connection. I know I can get a terminal block where I can screw in the bare ends and just join up, but basically I'd have to join up, I think, join up the neutral wire here with this neutral wire at that end, and then these 2 live wires joined up with the live wire there. Just bypass this and it should work. I'm not going to do it in this video. I'm going to have a bit of a complaint first, but yeah, that's what's happened with that. But anyway, I'm glad I've seen that damage, because I think that is what's caused it. As you know, the motor sounded fine, didn't it? While the motor was running, the bearings, it sounded very, very smooth, brilliant. We've got 900 watts here written, insulated class B. I'm wondering if the motor I got as a spare I don't think it has a suppressor with it. I think that you'd have had to buy that separately. So I'll take some advice on what to do. I'm sure it's been done before. Never mind. I will see what the seller says. I'll say, well, it's blown up. I'm not lying. It's a good thing about recording everything, because if something's wrong, they cannot dispute it because it was caught on camera. In fact, I feel very strange when I unbox anything these days without recording it. You know, even if it's not for my channel, I think, oh, should I be recording it? Again, there should be a strip here. This little plastic piece separates the motor from the cable rewind, and there should be a strip, and I can replace that with some foam insulation strips, you know, the self-adhesive strips you fit to windows. That could just go along there. But yes, we'll get the suppressor removed. I think that's all that needs doing. See if I can get some grease here as well on the cord rewind. Yeah, I think a bit of grease will help that out. Well, the action isn't bad, it's just noisy. Ooh. Oh dearie me, what a shame. Never mind though. Hopefully it's a fairly easy fix just to remove that suppressor. Oh well, you can't win them all, can you? Never mind. I've popped the cover back on. I've left it disconnected though. I will look at this at a later stage. I don't think it's going to cause too much trouble to either replace or bypass the suppressor. Oops, here we go. But yeah, apart from that little bit that little bit of a shock, I am still pleased with it. As you can see, it's lovely condition. The motor, I think the motor is fine. It's not like the bearings have gone or anything. It's just that nasty little suppressor. There's a bit of controversy over whether you should remove suppressors on vacuums, even if they don't show signs of going. A lot of people take them out as a matter of routine to avoid the experience I've just had. I don't tend to do that, but you don't expect it to happen quite so soon. But obviously it's a risk one takes. Some people do say if you take the suppressor out, you've got to replace it with a new one. Some people say it still does interfere with TV and radio, even though we've moved to digital now. But anyway, I'm of the camp, literally, that says take them out, eliminate them. It's like part of your body you don't need. Just rip it out in case it causes trouble. I think that's what they do with appendix, isn't it? I've still got mine. I've still got all my parts are still functioning and intact at the moment. Time of making this video, I'm fully intact. Everything that God gave me, I've still got in my body. So anyway, I'm philosophical about it. You win some, you lose some. I still am very happy with this cleaner. It looks lovely, even as something to look at. But I think it's going to be a quick job. Fingers crossed, just to take out that suppressor, bypass it, and we'll have this Hoover Sensotronic System 1 running again. I was going to do a bit of a demo, but obviously not now. Not for this video. Hopefully I'll do a video of all my Sensotronics and one day and they'll all be working, but I've got my doubts about some of them ever working because you can't get the parts, you know. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video and enjoyed seeing this 80s vacuum, please thumb up, and I'll see you all for another video very soon. Bye for now.